It's the largest active excavation going on here in Jerusalem, finding treasures, golden treasures, going back to the Byzantine period. About 1,400 years ago, you have seals with names of figures from the Bible going back 2,500 years ago. Jerusalem is a mixed city. It's
I know you have the Arab quarter, you have the Christian quarter, you have the Jewish quarter.
but even outside the old city, since the mid 1800s, you have a clear Jewish majority in Jerusalem, with obviously a growing Muslim minority as well. But it's for time immemorial, this has been a place that's had, whether it's Christians, Jews, Muslims, people want to be in Jerusalem. But the only reason today that people of all faiths and backgrounds are actually able to go to their holy places in Jerusalem is because for nearly the last 70 years, this whole area has been under Israeli sovereignty. For much of the last 2,000 years, you did not have freedom of access, freedom of worship to all these places. You look around the Middle East today, Christians are being driven out of any Middle Eastern countries where they still are. They're being driven out of. They don't have freedom of worship, freedom of access to their holy places.
I always ask this question, so if Hamas or the Palestinian Authority were in control of Jerusalem, do we really think that Christians would be able to visit these sites?
We already know, because if you look around the Middle East, the destruction of holy places, even Islamic holy places of other sects of Islam, not to mention Christian holy places. You look in the destruction you have in Syria of ancient churches and temples. You have what the Taliban did to the Umayyad statues a number of decades ago. You have the destruction of the Temple Mount in the late 90s carried out by the Islamic Waqf, destroying ancient antiquities on the Temple Mount. So we know exactly what would happen, which would be the destruction of sites that have significance to Jews, to Christians around the world. The reason that those sites are open today and standing today and accessible today, regardless of a person's faith, is because Israel's here. That Israel's ensuring the freedom of worship, freedom of access to people of all faiths and backgrounds to come and connect with their holy places. If you believe there was a historic Jesus 2,000 years ago, he was Jewish. He went with all the Jews down to cleanse at the Pool of Siloam at the southern end of the city of David. He would have then walked up from the pool, along the pilgrimage road through the city of David, up to the Temple Mount. The Pool of Siloam that we're excavating in the city of David as we speak is 100% the same pool from 2,000 years ago.
Can we see the pool?
We're going to see it. Same pilgrimage road, same city of David, same Temple Mount. Not simply a matter of faith, but a matter of fact. What we're walking on right now is easily the most hallowed half mile anywhere in the world. There is no half mile.
The most what? Hallowed? What do you mean?
Hallowed, holy, significant.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Most significant half mile anywhere in the world. For billions, not for millions. And you can see as we walk down here, there would have been shops and stalls that lined the pilgrimage road.
Yeah, look, all along here.
Yeah, this is like the main shopping corridor. One is not enough, but there's another challenge, which is there's a law that both Hamas and the Palestinian Authority have, which is even in Jerusalem, if a Muslim sells their property to a non-Muslim, you're going to get one of two punishments: death or life imprisonment.
Well, that's a punishment now for a Muslim living in this area.
Even in this area, if you go and you sell your home to a non-Muslim,
yeah,
you're going to have big problems. So that means if you have someone living here, they say, you know what, we want to sell our home, right? Legally, willingly. So they say, okay, we're going to go to a real estate agent and we're going to market our home, and then whoever gives us the best offer, we're going to sell it to.
They can't do that.
They can't do that, right?
Only Muslims can buy.
And it's 2025. It's crazy that you're going to say that real estate is going to be based on race. That if you're a Muslim here, you can't sell to a Christian, to a Jew, to whoever.
And who enforces that? Hamas and the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah. To this
and
day,
if you're Jewish here and you're selling your property,
sell whoever you want.
You can sell to whoever you want.
Yeah.
I thought we hear that it's the Jews in Israel who are having an apartheid state.
It's the worst thing you could be in Palestinian society. The worst crime you could be guilty of is what they call being a collaborator.
Which is what you execute for,
right.
Which is what they're doing now in
Which
Gaza.
is exactly, if you in any way are perceived as having some type of positive ties, helpful ties with Israel or Jews, that's the biggest crime in Palestinian society today. And so the idea that you would sell a home in Jerusalem to a non-Muslim, that's a crime, right? 2025. Wow. And here's an interesting thing. If you go back to the 1920s, you have a body called the Supreme Muslim Council. Right, so here's a book in 1930. Supreme Muslim Council puts out a brief guide to the Al-Haram al-Sharif referring to the Temple Mount. Now it's published in English. Now why would the Supreme Muslim Council publish a booklet in English in 1930 about the Temple Mount? Who is meant to read this book? The British, who were stationed in this country at the time. So now the question is, in 1930, what does the Supreme Muslim Council want British people who are stationed here to know about the Temple Mount? Well, it's quite interesting. It says, its identity with the site of Solomon's temple is beyond dispute. This too is the spot, according to universal belief, on which, quote, David built an altar unto the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So in 1930, the Supreme Muslim Council says there was a David, there was a Solomon, there was a temple atop the Temple Mount. Beyond dispute, universal belief, and they quote the Bible. Now, it's a long time ago, 1930.
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? Because it's true, right? And so 1930, they were just, it was a history book.
Okay, they weren't on their jihad then.
So what happened after 1948?
Once it's
So
formation, then they have to change.
Right, so
the
now what
history.
happens? So now they put out new versions of the booklet. And here's one of the most modern versions of this booklet. Al-Aqsa Mosque, Clarifications for Misconceptions. Now, what are the misconceptions? Maybe you read the earlier version. So they clarify it very quickly. Dome of the Rock, and not the Holy of Holies. The Al-Burak Wall, and not the Wailing Wall. Not the Western Wall. The Al-Aqsa Mosque, and not the temple.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque has been built on top of the temple.
Right, so what was less than a century ago, beyond dispute, universal belief, is today being erased. Right, now I was here not long ago, I had a group of some EU...
Can you just show us the cover of that?
Sure.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Sure. So I was here not long ago with some EU officials who came for an off-the-record visit, and they asked me, they said, what do the Palestinian leadership, what do they think about the city of David? I said, they hate this place. They said, why? I said, well, it's very simple.
Contradicts there.
So the story that they've been telling for nearly a century now is that Israel's a colonial project. We're a bunch of occupiers, colonizers, thieves. We have no history in the land of Israel, and certainly not in Jerusalem. I said, what is the problem with that? The city of David. We are what you could call an inconvenient truth, because everywhere you dig in the city of David, you find antiquities, fancy words for old stuff dating back thousands of years, which show that Jerusalem's biblical heritage for Jews, for Christians, is not simply a matter of faith, but a matter of fact. But I saw they got uncomfortable. They didn't like that. I said, I get it. You know, you want to separate the politics from the archaeology. Totally understand. I have a foolproof, foolproof way, though, how to do that. They said, okay, tell us. We're very interested. I said, you can put out whatever diplomatic initiatives you want, whatever peace plans you want. You want 1 state, 2 state, 3 states, no states, whatever you want. You could put out your proposals. You just have to do one small thing. They said, what's that? I said, all that has to happen is for the heads of the United Nations, for the heads of the European Union, for the heads of Palestinian leadership to simply acknowledge that the archaeology incontrovertibly shows that the Jewish people, and by extension Christians, have been in Jerusalem for thousands of years. That's it, and after that, do whatever you want. And they looked at me and they said, they'll never agree to that. I said, well, what do you want from us? We're just uncovering the history, we're uncovering the heritage. This should not be political, it shouldn't be controversial, it shouldn't be right-wing, left-wing, religious, secular. This is just history. Here it is. But if you can't accept this history, which shows that we've been here for thousands of years, if that is controversial, I said to them, well, there's really nothing else to talk about. If you can't acknowledge our basic history in this land, that we've been here for thousands of years, that we're not some colonial project, if we can't agree on that, well, then there's not a whole lot we're going to be able to work out, right? And that's the challenge here. And Josephus says in the year 70, the Romans are destroying Jerusalem. The temple atop the Temple Mount is in flames. The last Jews of Jerusalem are seeking refuge, hiding from the Romans. Where? In the drainage channel beneath the pilgrimage road, which looks like this,
open to
right? And the Romans find out about it, and they come with sledgehammers, and they shatter the flagstones.
And that's what this is.
And they find 2,000 Jews hiding in the sewers, beneath our feet, beneath the pilgrimage road. Archaeologists find whole cooking pots, meaning the people were living there for days, for weeks, for months, until the Romans find them all and kill them all. These were the last days of Jerusalem in the year 70. Now, the Romans are so proud of their victory over Jerusalem that they mint a coin. Here is the Roman Emperor Vespasian, and in the year 71, they mint a coin that says Judea Capta. Judea, the name of the country, has been captured or defeated. The capital was Jerusalem. Jews are called Jews because Jews come from Judea. And you see a Roman legionnaire towering above a woman on her knees crying. You could see how proud the Romans were of their victory of Jerusalem. Now, if you go to Rome today, you have the Arch of Titus. Now, Titus goes on to become Emperor of Rome. But before he's Emperor of Rome, he's the commander of the 10th Roman Legion, which destroys Jerusalem, which destroys the temple. And on the arch, you have the temple treasures being led out of Jerusalem into Rome. The Romans were so proud of defeating this country, of conquering it, of taking away all the identity, all the treasures, all the culture, that they celebrated it on coins, on arches. But in the years leading up to the destruction, there was a period known as the Great Revolt, the Great Jewish Revolt for freedom against the Roman occupation. And each year of the revolt, they're minting small bronze coins. And scholars have long wondered why, bless you, Why were they minting these coins? Because the coins at that time had no monetary value. And if they really wanted to fight the Romans, what should they have used the metal for instead of minting worthless coins? To make what? To make weapons, right? So why are they minting these coins? So I want to share with you an answer that I find to be meaningful. But before I do, I want to show you one such coin. This coin here is 2,000 years old. This coin here goes back to the year 67. And it says on the coin, for the freedom of Zion, for the freedom of Jerusalem. That coin,
Okay, hold it up to me.
that coin represented a hope, a wish, a dream, and a prayer that one day
Be free from.
the Jewish people returned to Jerusalem as sovereign, that they would get their country back. Now, they probably thought it would take a few years, a few decades. They couldn't imagine it would be nearly 2,000 years before that would happen. But in the year 1958, on Israel's 10th anniversary, Israel mints its first commemorative medallion. But there's something strange about this medallion, because if you look closely at the medallion, what do you see here? They've minted
They've used the same
the Roman victory
Roman
coin.
victory
Now,
coin.
why would you mint a symbol of shame for your people? It doesn't make any sense until you flip it over. And when you flip it
And
over,
it shows the woman standing up.
now
and
it says Israel Liberata. Israel's been liberated.
So
the Roman
it
soldiers
goes from
gone,
the Roman soldier over the woman to then showing the woman free of her baby.
right, and a man working the land
And
beside her.
a man building the land, planting.
And this was Israel's response to Rome, 2,000 years in the making.
Okay.
And if you think about that small little coin, that hope, that wish, that dream, and that prayer, it took a lot longer than they thought it would. But here we are, 2,000 years later, because they never gave up on their ideals, on their principles, on their values, on their hopes, to one day return and restore their country. And that's what they did here, 2,000 years later. And so you go through hard times, but the secret of Jerusalem is, it says in the Bible that the righteous will be knocked down 7 times and get back up. The wicked fall once and stay down.
You're not telling us in 2,000 years we'll free Britain of the problems, right?
Got to play the long game sometimes. So we're standing on the original steps, going back to the time of Jesus, and you see the size of the massive pool that would have been here 2,000 years ago. So whatever you feel as a Jew, as a Christian, whatever you believe happened here at the Pool of Siloam, this is where it was. And this was the beginning of the pilgrimage journey. You'd come here, you'd immerse
It's mad
yourself.
that they've just found this.
It's being excavated as we speak. This is it, right? So we're excavating the pool, we're excavating the road. We're bringing this one of the most significant half miles in all of civilization, which has shaped civilization as we know it today, whether the United States, Israel, parts of Europe. This is the bedrock of the heritage and values that have shaped the world for billions of people. And we're bringing it back over here, bringing it back to life, so that people will be able to come and connect with the roots of their identity, of their faith, a place that has a great deal of meaning. And I was asked once, standing over here by a journalist, she said, you've spoken a lot about the Bible. Do you actually believe that all these Bible stories, they're true, they really happened? And I said, it actually doesn't matter what I believe, because there's no place in the world more than Jerusalem, where not for millions, but billions of people wake up every day, and they look to Jerusalem as a source of hope, meaning, faith, purpose, identity, inspiration, more than New York, Rome, London, Moscow, Paris, Riyadh. They look to Jerusalem. And so if you want to understand the world today, past, present, and also future, you need to understand Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the city of David. And so what we've seen today in our short time together is a small amount of what's been unearthed here, what we're bringing back for people to connect with here in the city of David. There's a lot more to see, and even more that's being uncovered. And so I'll end with the hope, prayer, and blessing that we've been saying for nearly 2,000 years, which is next year in Jerusalem. And hopefully you can take the spirit of this place and bring it back home with you.
Thank you. You're a brilliant speaker. Even just off that brief explanation, where you've got a coin from 2,000 years ago talking about when Jews will be free again in Jerusalem. And then you can understand the importance of the history to their land and the history of them coming back to their land when they've been driven out so many times. But yeah, fascinating. Fascinating.